We have an incredible episode that happened actually in the end of last week's Parsha, where Binyamin is accused of stealing the king's goblet. Now, at the moment of this accusation, all the brothers know that Binyamin did not take the goblet, and yet they also know that something is happening here, that whatever they are going through, it is so clear to them that it's from Hashem. It's from Hashem. The brothers never once lacked trust, faith and trust in Hashem, Emunah-Vayigash in Hashem, believing in Hashem that this is all for a reason. And yet, we see something in this week's Parshat Vayigash, that Yehuda, who is the example, he's the kingship of trusting in Hashem, of believing in Hashem, of knowing that Hashem is behind everything, he steps up and he starts to do something. Wait a minute, I think if I were to have such trust and believe in a Kadosh Baruch Hu, why would I do anything? I should just sit there and accept my fate, throw up my hands and say there's nothing to be done. And no, it's the opposite. He knows that everything's for a reason. He knows even that this is maybe this is a consequence of something, an action that I did, this is happening. And yet he still stands up and he goes and he says, Vayigash, he goes forward. He goes to, doesn't know at the time, his brother Yosef, and he, with all his heart, tries to approach the heart of this leader in front of him and plead before him, which is telling us what? Emunah does not negate doing something. In fact, a person who has Emunah and Bitachon and a Kadosh Baruch Hu is actually going to take all the emotion and try to do something with that. There's a person who doesn't give up, the person who in every single situation, knowing that this is happening for a reason, it's meant to be for a reason, and at the same time, I have so much trust, I have so much Emunah and a Kadosh Baruch Hu that I am still going forth and pouring all my heart into doing something which I feel is an effort that I can do. That's number one. And what's number two lesson to learn in this week's Parsha about Emunah and Bitachon is that it does not negate emotion. You would think that if a person had so much Emunah Bitachon in Hashem, I have so much trust, I have so much belief in you, Hashem, that I'm always going to be calm, collective, I'm never going to be crying, I'm going to be everything is meant to be, I can be calm all the time. And guess what we see this week's Parsha? Whereas always before, Yosef, we never heard about him crying, getting emotional, he's thrown into jail, he's being accused of so many things, and yet he still goes about everything, we don't hear any emotions. All of a sudden, this week's Parsha, Yosef is crying all the time. He can't even hardly control himself, although he does. He gets everybody out of the room, the ones who doesn't want them to see his emotions, and he tells and he cries. And at the same time, he says that this is all from Hashem. He's also crying. And I was thinking that, you know what, a person who cries, and you're crying because you feel sorry for yourself, you're crying in self-pity, I would say maybe that's a lack of Emunah and Bitachon and Hashem. That you're just feeling sorry, like nothing's really meant to be, there's no reason to it, and then you cry in desperation. But a person who's crying as an expression of Emunah and Bitachon and Hashem is crying because your body actually feels God's presence. You actually feel that Hashem is behind all this. You realize you have no control, that it's all Hashem. This is the true cry. This is actually the body's expression of Emunah and Bitachon. Knowing when to cry, when not to cry, that's Emunah Bitachon and Hashem. Knowing how to express emotion, and that I should express emotion, and that a person can feel so many things at the same time, that I can have so much Emunah and trust in Hashem, and at the still time, feel the emotion and cry, that is true Emunah and Bitachon and Hashem. We should always be able to harness and access the emotions that we have, use them at the right time, in the right place, to do what? To show and express our Emunah and Bitachon in Hashem. Have a great Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom.